Professor Kixmar clicked his mandibles in amusement as the human student entered his advanced xenobiology lecture hall. The primitive creature clutched an armload of what appeared to be bound paper manuscripts, physical books, an obsolete technology that most civilized species had abandoned millennia ago. Ms. Rivera, he announced to the class of 200 students representing 47 different species, perhaps you could explain to your classmates why you insist on carrying those artifacts instead of using a proper neural interface or holographic display system? Lisa Rivera paused at the lecture hall in trance, her arms full of thick volumes. Around her, students with quantum memory implants, crystalline data matrices, and bioneural storage systems snickered at the backwards human and her ancient paper books. These work during power failures, she replied simply, making her way to an empty seat. The Zentorian student Caxvel's laughter chimed like broken glass. Power failures? What kind of primitive infrastructure does your species? The lights went out. Emergency power failed 3 seconds later. Life support systems switched to backup batteries, but all educational technology died instantly. 200 alien students sat in darkness, their sophisticated learning systems as dead as ancient stone. Neural interfaces went silent. Holographic displays faded to nothing. Crystalline matrices went dark. In the absolute blackness, a small light appeared. Lisa had produced a simple chemical torch from her bag and opened one of her books. Chapter 47. She began reading aloud, her voice carrying clearly through the silent hall. Adaptive respiratory systems in low-oxygen environments. During the crisis aboard Station Kepler 442, when life support systems failed completely, the key to survival was understanding how different species process oxygen under extreme stress. Professor Kixmar's compound eyes adjusted to the dim light, watching in fascination as the human continued reading. Her information was completely accurate, detailed, and relevant to the exact emergency they were now experiencing. While every other student sat helpless, dependent on systems that had failed, the human continued her education uninterrupted. The Arcturian gill system, Lisa continued, requires 30% more oxygen during stress events, while Zentorian breathing crystals can extract oxygen from trace atmospheric compounds. Several students leaned closer to hear better. This information could save their lives if the emergency worsened. 20 minutes later, power returned. As lights flickered back on and systems rebooted, the class remained silent. They had just witnessed something impossible. Learning that continued without any infrastructure at all. Ms. Rivera, Professor Kixmar said slowly, his academic arrogance completely deflated. Your books. They contain the complete xenobiology curriculum. Lisa nodded, patting the stack of volumes. These 5 contain everything from first-year basics to postdoctoral research, plus historical context, practical applications, and case studies going back 3 centuries. The vegan student yell that's raised a tentacle nervously. But how do you search through so much information quickly? How do you cross-reference data without computational assistance? Lisa smiled. We memorize it, cross-reference it in our heads, build understanding instead of just accessing data. She tapped her temple. Humans don't store information in our technology. We store it in here, where it can't be hacked, corrupted, or shut down. The lecture hall remained quiet as the implications sank in. Every species had become dependent on external systems for knowledge storage and retrieval. If their technology failed, they became functionally ignorant. The human carried her entire education in her brain, backed up by physical books that needed no power, no networks, no infrastructure. Professor Kixmar looked at his own crystalline data matrix, suddenly seeing it not as advanced technology but as a critical vulnerability. Ms. Rivera, would it be possible? Could you perhaps share some of those texts with the class? Lisa reached into her bag and produced several more books. I brought extras, she said. Human habit. We like to share knowledge. As she distributed the physical books, students from across the galaxy handled them with newfound respect. These weren't primitive artifacts. They were something far more valuable. Knowledge that could never be deleted, never be corrupted, and never be taken away. In a universe of sophisticated technology, the human had brought the most advanced storage system of all. A mind that learned, remembered, and could teach others even when everything else failed.